Hi there, I'm Danny Flex and welcome to the latest edition of SecondsOut ReFLEXions. I'm here every Monday, 4:30 PM to talk about the boxing action of the weekend just gone. And it's a rare occurrence on either of my vlogs that I'll come on here to advocate for someone who has blocked me on Twitter, Eddie Hearn aside, because he gets the odd moment of advocacy from me. But this time I'm going to do just that. And before you ask, I don't know why Claressa Shields blocked me. There's so many tweets that I send out that probably aren't palatable for everyone. It could be anything really, but I never really understand why people ask why someone blocked you. Unless someone actually tweets and says, I'm blocking you now in response to whatever you've just posted, you very rarely know. You just notice you've been blocked, 3 months, 6 months, a year later, and you don't actually know how long later. That's part of the point. But I'm going off on a tangent now. I don't know why she blocked me. I don't care. Well, I do care a little bit that she blocked me because I'm a big fan of hers, but what I mean is I don't care what the reason is why she blocked me, because we're here to talk about her achievements, and blocking me, as shown by how many people have done it, isn't really much of an achievement anymore. Claressa Shields at the weekend, whether you agree with her fight being on pay-per-view or not, unified the main 4 belts in a division for the second time in her brief career. She still only had, 11 fights, I think. She unified the super welterweight division, having already done so at middleweight, WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO, the 4 major world titles, and is the first person of either gender to achieve such a feat in the 4-belt era. Now, you could say this isn't quite as big an achievement as it would be in the men's game, because there's much greater depth in the male side of the sport, particularly, and even in the female side of the sport, in some of the lighter weight divisions, there's more depth. So it would be a harder task to unify all 4 major belts, not just because there's better fighters and better depth, but also because the politics make things a lot trickier. A lot more money and broadcaster agreements need to be made to make undisputed fights, as we see at the moment, particularly with the ongoing negotiations between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua's teams. But it's still a great achievement nonetheless. Only 11 fights in to have unified. She's a 3-weight world champion. She also won a world title up at super middle. But to have unified all 4 major belts at those 2 weight classes, super welter and middle, in only 11 fights is just ridiculous. She's still only 25 years old. And it's hard to kind of figure out where she goes from here to add to that legacy. She proclaims herself the GWOAT, the greatest woman of all time. I'm assuming she means particularly in boxing, rather than going up against the likes of Florence Nightingale, Marie Curie, and people like that. But I have to agree with her from a boxing sense. The only one that really pushes her close is Katie Taylor, who's won more world amateur championships, certainly, but she was an amateur for a lot longer. Won Olympic gold medal in the Taylor drawer or toilet, wherever she keeps it. Claressa's got 2. She won the first one in 2012 at the age of just 17 and was a double Olympic champion by the age of 21, which is hugely impressive by any stretch for a man or a woman boxer. So from the amateur scene, you could call it more or less a draw, but I would say her accomplishments as a pro in less time and at a younger age outstripped Taylor. Taylor, obviously undisputed champion at lightweight, has also won another world title at super light. And there is greater strength and depth in her divisions than there is in Claressa Shields' divisions. But Claressa Shields has beaten 4 unbeaten fighters already in her career, including 2 for her undisputed title victories. She beat Marie-Eve Decaire at the weekend for the final 2 super welter belts to make 4 in total. And previous to that, she beat the previously unbeaten Christina Hammer to unify all 4 belts at middleweight. So she's beating the best available opposition in her weight classes, people who've never been defeated before, so coming in full of confidence. But not only that, she's beating the caliber of opposition she is in dominant fashion. Decaire was barely in the fight, Hammer was barely in the fight, Tori Nelson, when she beat her, was barely in the fight, Nikki Adler, I could go on and on. Whereas Katie Taylor, and she's a remarkable fighter, all due respect to Katie Taylor, but the best person she's fought so far as a pro is Delphine Persoon. And she struggled with her both times. The first one, arguably, Persoon did enough to win. I had Taylor winning by a point, but a lot of people had Persoon winning. The second one I thought was a clearer victory for Taylor, but still a close fight. And then you look at the depth. I guess the best win on her record is probably Jessica McCaskill, who's arguably improved since, is now champion up at welterweight. So that's probably the best win on her record. But when she moved up, Taylor, to super lightweight, she fought Christine Linodatu to win that world title at 140 pounds. Not a great opponent, to be fair. A lot more strength and depth at 135. And Taylor's wisely, decided to go back down to 135 going forward, I think, at least for the time being. That's her best weight. Then you look at the eye test. Taylor, you could say, more flair, fast hands, fast footwork, and maybe easier on the eye, maybe better to watch. I've certainly seen more of her fights than Shields is, that's for sure, because she's got that Sky platform. But she's beating a similar caliber of opposition, and she's getting pushed more by them than Shields is. Shields barely loses a round, even though she's fighting women who come in as world title holders. That's impressive too. I think the main reason why people have an issue with Shields' achievements is nothing to do with her talent or what she accomplishes in the ring. I think it's more to do with her personality. And there's a lot of criticism for her, and I commented on this on Twitter recently, in that she made a comment saying that she's second only to Muhammad Ali in boxing history. Now, absolutely ludicrous statement. Let me start by saying that. Of course, she's probably not even in the top, I don't know, if you include both genders, probably not even in the top 20 all-time greats at this stage of her career. But what I am saying is, if a man had said it, like Floyd Mayweather, for example, before he retired, he probably did say it, I don't know, I'd have to check. Well, he says he's TBE, doesn't he? So really, he's putting himself ahead of Ali. When a man says it, it doesn't seem to draw the same bile as Shields seems to attract when she says things like that. Now, partly that's because someone like Mayweather would have a stronger case, I guess. And people would still say it was ludicrous, but he wouldn't get the hatred. There's a real vitriol directed at Claressa Shields online. I've seen it quite a lot, and this has come from someone she's blocked, so maybe some of that vitriol's come from me in the past, although I can't recall. But it's just, there's a real nasty side to it. It's not just about, no one's going to pay for her pay-per-view. I'm sure some people did, but probably not a lot. Or, she hasn't really fought anyone because there's not that many great women at middleweight, super middleweight, whatever. Etc. Oh, she can't punch. That comes up quite a lot because a lot of her fights go to points, but then there aren't that many true punchers in the female side of the sport. So I think that's a bit of a weird stick to beat her with. And I have no problem with that, even if it is driven by other motives. I'm not sure. But you get people out there just say, oh, she's horrible. She's so arrogant. She's this. She's actually disrespectful. She's... and a lot of it plays into the kind of angry black woman stereotype that's out there. Now, I'm no expert on that because, I'm neither a woman nor black, in case you hadn't noticed. But I'm certainly aware of the stereotype that exists. And a lot of the criticism of Claressa Shields seems designed to perpetuate that. And I don't like that. Because, yeah, I'm sure she is angry at times. But I'm sure she's also engaging at times. And sad at times and happy at times. She's a three-dimensional person, like we all are. And I think to judge her on her personality in a way you probably wouldn't judge a man with similar accomplishments. She is the greatest female boxer active at the moment. There's no question about that in my mind. Now, who's the greatest male boxer active at the moment? Who's the pound-for-pound king? Canelo? If Canelo said he was second only to Ali, A, it'd show off how good his English is coming on. But B, I can't imagine it would get the same sort of criticism and just nasty abuse online as Shields seems to attract. And I don't think that's right. I think you've got to draw a line between the two. Now, there's nothing wrong with saying you admire Shields' accomplishments, but you don't particularly like her personality. That's absolutely fine. But to say she's horrible, and I'm not going to say some of the names on here, but she gets a lot of abuse that you wouldn't say in public, let's put it that way. I don't think it's right. I don't think she deserves it. I think you can't judge a woman, whatever her colour is, you can't judge a woman for being brash, self-confident, even arrogant, if you wouldn't judge a man by the same way. Look at someone like David Haye when he was boxing. Two-weight world champion, deserved to be as kind of arrogant and cocky as he was. Nassim Hamed, another one from the past. And people don't seem to mind that as much when it's coming from a man. Now, I'm all for equality, in most cases. Won't go into that because I'll be digging another hole. But what's wrong with having... I think we're so used to seeing female boxers who are very humble, like Katie Taylor, like Savannah Marshall's very quiet anyway, Chantel Cameron, just every female boxer I can think of off the top of my head, Cecilia Brækhus, Jessica McCaskill, just all very humble and let their fist do the talking and, modest about their achievements. And that's fine. No one's criticising them for that. It's great. But I don't think it lessens her skill level or lessens any of the things she's done, Claressa Shields, by her being well aware of just how good she is. And I think it's a characteristic that's often admired in male sports people. So I think there is an element of sexism, just as there's an element of racism in some of the criticism of Claressa Shields. Not for everyone. I'm sure there's lots of people out there watching this who say, well, I don't like Claressa Shields and I'm not racist or sexist. Yeah, I mean, they don't have to be, all go as one. They can be mutually exclusive. You can dislike her just because you don't like her personality. That's fine. But there is a certain brand of criticism / abuse on social media that I've seen, and I don't appreciate it on her behalf. Sure, she doesn't care that much, but, she's probably more kind of self-confident and complete a person than I am, but who isn't? So, yeah, I just wanted to say that. I think she's the best female boxer of all time. I think now we've got to look at what she can do to cement her legacy even further or enhance it. I guess the natural one, if she can get down to 147 pounds, and I'm not sure how easy she'll find that, would be against the winner of the Brækhus-McCaskill rematch. I think that would be a very interesting one. Just seeing her at 147 pounds and how she gets on would be interesting. And the other big one is obviously the last person to beat her was back in the Amateurs World Championships 2000 and... I want to get this right, but I'm not going to even say it because I know I'll get it wrong. But whenever it was, a long, long time ago, she lost to Savannah Marshall in the World Championships. Marshall went on to... Marshall won the gold medal there. Marshall's now an unbeaten pro and a world champion at middleweight. The WBO middleweight title, which was actually relinquished by Claressa Shields for that fight between Marshall and Hannah Rankin. Marshall looked great winning that title. That's another big fight at middleweight for Shields. Getting to go against the last woman to ever beat her, old amateur conqueror. There's been a lot of talk back and forth. It could be really built up. Maybe even bring Claressa over to the UK, which would give it a bit of extra sheen. There's been a lot of female bouts in the UK over the pandemic period, if that's what we're calling it. It's what I'm calling it, apparently. So I'd like to see that as well. So there's still mountains for her to climb. But right now, I think she edges Katie Taylor as the #1 female pound-for-pound fighter in the world. And the winner of McCaskill Brækhus rematch will be in that conversation as well. Just before I go, something I should mention, even though I'm on seconds out time, is that I'm doing the Run 31 for the Kent Air Ambulance charity. Basically, you have to run 31 miles across the 31 days of March. I only found out about this yesterday, so I'm a week late starting, so I won't be doing 1 mile a day. But luckily, I already do a little bit of running, so I'll need to top that up a bit to achieve the 31 miles by the end of the month. But if you check out my social media, at Danny Flexen on Twitter, at DBFlex7 on Instagram, you will see not just great pictures of me completely out of breath, that's usually when I've only just started running, but also the link so you can donate to what is a very worthy cause. Really appreciate that. If you let me know below what you think of Claressa Shields, is she the pound-for-pound female #1? And it'd be great to know if she isn't, who you think is. I'll be back on Thursday for FlexPectations and the following Monday for the next ReFLEXions, both at 4:30 PM as always. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.